if I embody love, if I be love, if I do love every day, like I win.
Yeah.
Sometimes these lessons come in painful ways, and that's how we learn is the importance of loving yourself. Stop people pleasing because
Mhm.
and people pleasing is such an interesting thing, right? Shape shifting yourself in all these ways to make the other person happy. And meanwhile, the other person's like, you're so like, it's just, it doesn't.
Welcome to another episode of Thursday Enlightenment, guys. I can't wait for this one. I'm telling you, this is just too much fun I'm having. Anyway, it is my honor to always welcome our guests because I know they're coming with a couple of things very expensive in my eyes. Time. 24 hours has been offered to every one of us, and I'm telling you, what you do with your 24 hours will expose your sins. I will know much about you just by watching how you treat time. The other is the journey. Journey is a powerful creator, created Dr. Sue, this individual, this beautiful warrior that has been through much, gained such insight, wisdom, and knowledge. In order for us to have access to that, she must become vulnerable. And so we want to honor her for that, becoming vulnerable and allowing us access to her vulnerability. Thank you so much for coming to Threads of the Light.
Thank you, Ken. I have to say, you guys can't see, but I've had tears in my eyes already. What a beautiful gift this is. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you, Doc. And like I said, I've been so waiting for this conversation. So let me ask this question. I level this to everyone that shows up because it gives them an opportunity. I grew up in corporate America and, 30 seconds spiel, as they say. My question to you is this, and it
Hmm.
alludes to that second aspect of our journey of servanthood. How do you serve mankind?
I do what love does. I try my best to do what love would do, to be what love would be.
I don't even know what to say about that. It's so powerful. You're going to make me cry.
I just really do my best to do that. And it's been an evolution. And that's really what I feel like. If I embody love, if I be love, if I do love every day, like I win. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's easy. It's
Yeah.
definitely
Yep.
challenging. And love, I feel like, isn't always like rainbows and unicorns. It always isn't like a Pollyanna of sorts, right? Like love can be very discerning, it can be decisive, right? So,
Yeah, that is true love. The other is a fairy
mhm,
tale. And true love is very discerning. It has power. It is not mush, as they say. Has wisdom. It has insight,
mm,
knowledge, all of these wonderful things. And as I'm getting older, Doc, I'm learning something. There's different degrees of love in the sense where there's the chemical aspect of love. And I believe
mhm,
a great deal of society deals on the chemical aspects of love, and to feel that wonderful stuff. And oh, I love you. And that has nothing to do with love. But
mhm.
for me, what turns me on, if you will, is that individual that has gone through the darkness, has faced self, has truly fell in love with themselves, that is so passionate about themselves. When that individual turns to you and say, I love you, that to me is real stuff.
Mhm.
It's not a emotional driven statement anymore. It
Yeah,
is
it's
a
like I
powerful statement.
truly love all of you, the ugly, the bad,
Yes.
the
Yes.
quote unquote bad, right? All of it. I love all of you. And I do. I truly do try to see like the mustard seed of goodness even in people that I find fascinating. Fascinating is the word I use. Fascinating.
I think so. One of our customs here, Doc, is to go back. I call it our beginnings, if you will. And that
Mhm.
first location is the spaces that we visit as we're moving through life to become quote unquote independent. And the very first space that you and I will hang out for a few years until we're 18 or so is that family unit. And we move
Mhm.
through the program they tell us, yeah, and then go to college, all those different things. And they never tell us about true life. But the very first space that we hang out is that family unit. In that location, we're going to learn our communication skills, going to start developing right there. The belief that we have will start there. Behavior will start there as well. And the mind, the programming of the mind, whether they're limitation or whether they're higher frequency, if you will, but the programming starts there. What
Mhm.
was your family unit like?
It was a secure family, a very secure family. Mother, a father. I'm the youngest of 5 siblings. Chaos in terms of, like, calm chaos, right? Just very busy. There's a lot happening when there's 5 kids growing up in a house together. Very Christian, faith-based family
Hmm.
that, like, every Sunday, we went to Sunday school, like, no ands, ifs, or buts. Like, if we went out, "We're coming to pick you up." Like, "Get in the car, we're going."
But don't forget youth group, Wednesday night service.
And I went to youth club on Wednesday nights. Yeah. So that was a big part of my upbringing was a Christian foundation, and though I had challenges and I've had challenges with that along my own personal faith-based journey, I'm really, really grateful for it. Looking back, it's brought so much safety and security to my upbringing and really helped me hone in. Like, my parents and I may use different words to say
Hmm.
a very, like, the same thing, basically, is what I've come full revolution
Yeah, it's usually the
to figure
case.
out. Yeah,
Yeah, they love
right.
us in their fashion and their where they're coming from and the degree of knowledge and that they have gained at that time, and they are programmed a certain way, and they express it how they were programmed if they're not awake, and that's love, and they
That's
actually
love.
truly did. So here's this young woman, 5 siblings. I was there. We had 5 in ours as well, and
Mhm.
talk to me as to how did you show up? You grew up with the Christian foundation and the
Mhm.
siblings, of course. You know how brothers and sisters are and all that kind of good stuff. We abuse each other and have fun while we're doing it. And as we as we are, how did Sue show up? Because you're not doctor yet. You're Sue.
Yes.
How did Sue show up as a young individual at that time?
I showed up as Sweet Sue. Very sweet, very kind, very accommodating, often making myself smaller just to not be a pain. I was the compliant one, the achiever, the one who got the good grades. I wasn't a problem.
Let me ask you something. Why weren't you a problem? Why did you pick that route?
Yeah,
Was that
I
made, that
think
decision?
it's super interesting to be vulnerable and honest. I think what I've discerned is it has a lot to do with my relationship with my mom, and it would just be easier for her, Ken. You know what I mean? I thought that's what love would do. Like, I didn't say it that way, but I was like, "Let me just help it be easier for her," you know? And that was the way to make it easy for her, and I didn't mind, honestly, really. It
Here's
comes
this,
natural to me.
yeah, but here's this young girl that had that type of insight to
Mhm.
say, hey, let me do it this way so like it'd be easier for her. And to have that insight as a young individual, that is a powerful insight. Let me tap you again as to where did you think you got that insight from, Doc? Was it an internal thing? Was it there that you just
Yeah,
understood
let me
it?
clarify.
Or
I
what?
don't think I actually consciously knew that then.
Yeah.
I think looking back, doing the inner work and the
Uh-huh.
shadow work, I can see that that was an adaptive mechanism that I used to quote unquote survive, right?
Yes,
To thrive in my environment. That makes sense. I know you're aligned with what I'm talking about
absolutely.
here. So that's what I just kind of inherently, I mean, we're animals, right? Like, we're
Hmm.
instinctive. Like, you just kind of learn, like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what's going to flow here best. And so that's really if that's insight, that was my insight. I just was aware as a being, like,
Yes.
this is going to be best here.
Yeah, I tell people whatever trauma comes, it doesn't matter how, and it could be a benign thing. Mom is busy.
Mhm.
She said, I'm busy. The kid came up, said, Mom, I need to talk to you, whatever. I'm busy. And that individual interprets that as rejection, and, it changes
Mhm.
that individual life. But here you are, and you have made this decision. I love that decision. It's best for her that you held yourself and you began to exhibit some of the most powerful destructive tools on the planet, people pleasing.
you talking about, Ken?
Because we have to come the
Who's
first
a people
stage
pleaser around here?
the first stage of our trauma or managing our trauma, as you said, it has to be the survival stage. And when the survival stage comes into play, we become very good actors. We create stories that is going to hold us together, keep us standing tall with the back straight
Hmm.
until we get into our 20s and 30s, then all hell breaks loose. So talk to me as you are moving through life now and you're
Yes.
looking at one of the very first crossroads, major crossroads that an individual has to face, college or not. I want to
Hmm.
know what field of study did you pick if you went to college and why did you pick it?
My goodness, are you ready for some juicy psychology? Like, you're
I
gonna
am
be like,
ready.
oh my gosh, this is like Freud 101. I became a doctor because of my mom.
Hmm. That is
So my
Freud. That is
mom, so
absolutely
Freud.
100%. You're right there.
So my mom is she's 90 right now at the time of this recording. My mom is 90. When I was, I don't know what year this was, somewhere probably in the, somewhere in the 80s, right? Where you could still like take your child to work, including the
Yeah.
emergency room where my
Yeah.
mom worked was the
Uh-huh.
emergency room.
Yeah.
She's a registered nurse in the emergency room. She took me to work one day and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I said, Mom, I want to be a nurse just like you. Right. And she said, don't be a nurse, be a doctor. Don't take the orders, give the
Give.
orders.
Yeah.
And that might give you some insight in the
Yeah.
type of personality that my mom is, which I'm really, really grateful for. I'm really grateful that she gave me that insight, if you will, or like
Hmm.
that experience for her.
Yeah.
Because all I could see was she was an expander for me. Like I could just see what she was doing and saying, well, that looks good to me. Like I'm a natural caregiver of sorts, like I'm a people pleaser. Like I like to, you know, help out.
Yeah.
Right. And then, but giving me that insight, it was really interesting, Ken. Like that to me is how powerful we can be, how influential we can be for our children or any, if you don't have, birth children, like children that
Yeah.
you influence in your life is we do have a lot of influence on them. I mean, that one, it was like a two-sentence thing that totally pivoted my entire life.
Yeah. So here's this beautiful, and that's beautiful advice because she's speaking from a space of experience
Mhm.
that, and so she knows, and so she deposits this seed within you that germinated, landed and germinated. As you
Mhm.
got into college, if you will, and you
Mhm.
landed there, and now here is this seed that was planted. What did it look like once you landed into college, you got accepted, and this seed now is going to, through data, as you were incorporating data into this ground, how did you show up there? Were you excited? Was
Shaky.
something, what was it?
Was shaky as hay. So shaky. I didn't really believe in myself. I mean, it's a I was like, wow, okay. I mean, recently, this is kind of fun. There's so many things. I would say the one word is I was shaky. Probably the biggest pivotal point, when you're pre-med in undergrad, you need to take an entrance exam called the MCAT.
Hmm.
And the first time I took the MCAT, I basically flopped. I was very nervous for the first section and like couldn't focus or anything. So much so, like the entrance, on one of my entrance interviews to the med school that I eventually ended up getting accepted into, he was like, "Did you miss key?" Like, this is all like you should do it like pencil bubble in
Yeah.
the answer. And I was like smiling. I didn't even know how to answer that because I did not miss key. Those were my answers. So a pivotal point for that though is I got to retake the MCAT, which, when you fail something and you're mounted to go take it again, and this is your dream to get into med school. But I'm like moved again, Ken, because the woman behind me, like here I
Yeah.
am studying at my childhood desk, and the woman behind me, she has both her hands on my shoulders, and she's just like, "You got this. You totally got this," And I was just remembering the other day I was so oh, because one of my girls just went through one of her little tumbles in young adulthood, right? She's in her young 20s now. And I said, "This is when you just wanna curl up with your mom and, like, spoon with your mom." And that's what
Yeah.
she did with me the night before my second MCAT. She just held me like a little baby and was like, "You're gonna go. Go fly, girl. Go fly."
What a
And I
powerful
did.
image.
I flew on the second MCAT, and I got into med school.
What a powerful image, though. And what a gift that she was able to offer you by
Mhm.
giving you that comfort and giving you that security, holding you and saying, you got this. Powerful drug offered by a mom to a daughter on her
Mhm.
second try. That is a beautiful, beautiful gift. So,
Unwavering faith,
yeah.
unwavering faith, you
So here
know?
you
And that's
are.
what I say to my daughter, like, "Lean on my faith. Lean on my faith until yours takes root." I have no doubt, girl, no doubt. Yeah.
That's powerful. So here you are. You went and you passed and you got your stuff. You became pediatrician. So I want to talk about this. Why did you pick that one?
Oh
Because
my
the
goodness, this is
medical field
such
is
a
so
great story.
vast and you picked pediatrician. Let me hear that story.
I thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist because I love human behavior. I majored in biopsych. I've always been into self-development. I was like the high schooler at the bookstore looking at, self-improvement books. I don't know why,
Really?
you
That's
know,
hold on. So here is this young girl that don't know why. Because
don't
these are the
know
things
why.
that make us, Doc. These are those little things
Mhm.
that make us who we are. We are standing in front of bookstores and books which house wisdom and knowledge and so forth. And you are looking at a specific topic, powerful topic about self-development.
Self-development.
Do you have an inclination at all? And through your 2020 vision recollection, do you have an inclination as to what pulled you towards that?
I think I just love, I mean, well, at the time, I think I was just driven by my interest in human behavior. I
Where did it come
majored
from? Was it from your mom, watching your mom
I
and your
think
family?
I think probably me trying to understand what's going
Gotcha.
on,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know if I had words for it, but I was like, "Let me see if other people have words for it."
And I'm sure they did. Did you find some of those words?
I did find some of those words. I can't remember the author's name, but I can picture the book in my mind, and my oldest sister gave it to me, and it was just kind of like helping us figure it out. You know what I mean? Because it's clearly love. It's just like I find like, that's the primary seed with most of all therapy or coaching is like this essence of you not feeling loved in the way that you wanted to feel loved,
Yeah. What we
whether
assume
that's from your
is.
mom or your dad or whatever caregiver brought you up, some essence of that. And I was thinking about that, Ken, recently. Like, it's pretty much impossible. It's like we're not perfect. We're in human form. So, like, it doesn't matter if Jesus came down. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, Jesus in human form was, I don't know. It's just like, it's a hard, really hard thing to do. So I think that's kind of a gift, right? Because you start digging in to figure out, like, how do I love myself? How do I give myself that?
Yeah.
Rather than trying to look outside of it always. How do I give and fill myself? So I think that's what it was driven from. And then I majored in psychology, loved human behavior. I thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist
Okay. Talk to me about
until I
that.
saw what psychiatry was.
Talk to me about that because you are collecting that, and then we'll get to the pediatrician piece. Because you're studying this human behavior, human development, and you're getting insight as to how wonderful we are and how crazy we are both at the same
Yeah.
time. And so you began to see these things. First of all, as you began to input that data, study, read, all of those wonderful things, what did it start to excavate in you? Because it has to show things, make things aware, and you aware of certain things as you're watching that data. What did it do to you as you're studying all of that wonderful stuff? What did you begin to notice about self, Doc?
Ken is just an excavator. Like, okay, let's go to the next trauma point. Okay. What I started learning in college was in a painful way, which is great.
Yeah.
Sometimes these lessons come in painful ways, and that's how we learn, is the importance of loving yourself. And that came through my first, I wouldn't say the first, but a pivotal intimate relationship,
Yeah.
with my boyfriend at the time in college. Turned out to be a really powerful lesson in who I don't want to be my lifetime partner and all the reasons why. And learning how to stop people pleasing because
Mhm.
and people pleasing is such an interesting thing, right? I think that's the
Isn't it?
thing, like shape shifting yourself in all these ways to make the other person happy, and meanwhile the other person's like, you're so like, it's just it doesn't work,
Doesn't.
and so that's basically really what I learned most in a painful way that ultimately ended in me first year of med school after therapy. Like that
Mhm.
first year of med school, that's when I saw a therapist for the first time. I think they called it, oh my gosh, I wish I could remember the word. It was great. It was like acute adjustment disorder or something. Like I was adjusting to first year medical school. I think that felt good to everyone in the family. It was like, okay, it's just this one, like, she's
Yeah.
adjusting to first year med school. And I think that's what I was doing. I was starting to realize, like, dude, there's nothing I can do to make this work. This isn't really a good fit. I get to walk away. This is super hurtful. I wish it could have worked. Um, and so first year of med school, I ended it.
Yeah, it's funny how the people pleasers always attract narcissists.
My gosh. Such a pattern, such a
It
pattern.
is a pattern because they are attracted to the empath in us and
Yeah.
something that they don't have. And so when they
Well, let's
see
say
it,
I must have passed that with flying colors because never again did I attract a narcissist. So,
well, because
we
you
all have
gain,
narcissist tendencies,
yes,
obviously, we all have our
yeah.
selfish things, but that was extreme, that was uncomfy, that was a lot of learning, like I say, sculpting my soul.
Yeah, you gain wisdom, you gain discernment, you gain, you learn about boundaries as one, especially for
Yeah.
those that are labeled, pleasers, people pleasers. And that's when, you gain that from that first relationship and had enough insight not to get into any more like that. I didn't like, I just kept going, collecting badges. I mean, we'll talk about that later. So
It's great.
you are here and you had an opportunity um, to learn and gain some insight, gain some wisdom, knowledge, and as far as boundaries and so forth from that first relationship. And you are now we're going to go back into pediatrician as
Mhm.
to what was it after you saw, as you said, you saw what they are supposed to do and you want nothing to do with those psychologists and you just
Mhm.
jumped into pediatrician. Why not something else?
So, because I fell in love with I mean, I've always loved kids. Like I'm a baby magnet. Like I see a baby, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I start talking to
Yeah.
like babies and kids. So it's naturally in me. But when I was on that rotation, I was like, oh my goodness, I can do this. Like this is fun. This feels good. This feels like my jam. I like being around, like kids make me the best person I can be, truly. They just bring out the best in me. And so I thought, this is home. This feels good.
And as you landed home, as you said, and you're there, and life happens, you graduated, you have your piece of paper, and you're screaming and yelling. And then you are going into the other phase of the program that they have designed for you and I. And that is our professional job. Now, talk to us as to
Mhm.
once you arrived, you got your paper, you're a pediatrician, you love the goo 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 babies, you love all of that stuff. When you got there and life happens, explain to me about that once you got there.
I chose a transitional year. Actually, I mean, luckily I was, appointed
Yeah.
essentially to be the chief resident,
Hmm.
which means like I finished 3 years and then became a chief resident, which is like a leadership role, an admin role. You're kind of the buffer between the residents and the attendings. That was a really year for me of figuring out what the hey am I going to do here,
Yeah.
because what I started to realize, I started to venture out and explore other things. I had already started that in med school. Like energy healing with Reiki, alternative medicine in general, acupuncture, craniosacral therapy. Started looking at all these different therapies and getting some training in some of them. And I realized by the end of that 4th year, that transitional year, chief resident year, I was like, hmm. I went on some interviews, Ken. I was
Of
like,
course.
no, this is like, what do they say? A square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Like, I was like, this isn't going to fly very well. Like, this is not going to work. One of the major institutions, like Ivy Tower, like, I got an interview at, which is great. Super exciting. I got an interview with them. And when she said, well, what do you really see yourself doing? And I explained, I really see myself going into alternative medicine, complementary medicine, like painted the whole vision. And you could just see like,
Two different worlds, man. You can't do
and
that.
then literally I had this thing, she was like, bye-bye, And meanwhile, now like I'm like in my 23rd year of practice right now, and that same institution has a whole complementary section.
Yeah, here you are trying to talk to two different animals. I mean, they don't meet. Only lately meaning the last 20 years or so, that you're seeing the blend of it because a lot of the physicians, the younger physician group, because I've hung out with the older physician, the younger physician group, those guys are going out. They've been trying all kinds of ayahuasca and a whole lot of other lifestyle, and they're coming back and
Mhm,
blending. And most of them are doing some tremendous work,
mhm.
marrying and synchronizing both field and producing tremendous outcome and about that natural pharmaceutical regular beast. So here you are, you recognize, and here you're dabbling. I love it. You're dabbling with the alternative learning, gaining insight from a different vantage point, and you're going on a couple of interviews and you realize the questions that they're asking, like, I don't fit here. So when you
No.
began to say that you didn't fit here, that thumping, that unease, if you will, that begins to reside within the subconscious being, that is now going to tug at you and begin to make you aware that which direction you're thinking of going is not that way. I want you somewhere else. When you were in betwixt, if you will, old British terminology, as they say, and you're there, how were you managing self? Now you're Dr.
Mhm.
Sue. How were you managing yourself, Dr. Sue?
At that time, I was getting married. So I married the man I'm still married to. Amazing human being, amazing
Congratulations.
evolved soul,
Awesome.
amazing person who said, do what you want to do. I got us. Like you want to, because I figured like I've got two options. I sent out a bunch of letters and said, do you want to hire me? This is what I want to do.
Laying down the law. All right. What are we going
I
to
got
interview with, Ken?
I got one reply and nice guy and said, listen, Sue, I won't hire you, but you can start your practice out of my office. Here's a room. You get one room, pay your thing. You can use my front office staff. I want you to succeed. So I did. I started
Nice.
my practice out of his office in one room.
So here you are, you stepped out and to become the entrepreneur, as they say. And that itself is a mindset, a certain mindset that is different from those that are still plugged in, if you will, into the program, the default programming as to this is what you do. The anomalies, as I say, are those that are entrepreneurs because they are on a different scale. They're doing their own thing and they can make the adjustments and so forth. You're outside of quote unquote normal, what they tell us. So you're living outside of normal.
There is
How
a
did
there
you
was a
begin?
moment. There was
Yeah.
a moment. Well, you have to do like so I'm a dreamer type, right? Like I'm like pie in the sky dreamer, right? And then people are like, come back to earth, Sue, like land it,
Yeah.
ground that baby. Which in Entrepreneurville means like you get to fill out the paperwork and you get to like do all the nitty gritty,
Yeah.
right? I had this moment sitting in our home together. We are just newlyweds, right? And I had kind of an out of body experience where I was like feeling it. And I think my mind was like, I can't do this. It's too hard. I don't know what I'm doing. And no one trained
Yeah.
me to do this. Like I'm feeling just really uncomfy.
Hmm.
And I had this voice like outside of myself say very calmly, like, yes, you can. It was just one of like, and it was just like, okay. I'm not sure who that was or what that was, but it was like it was very external outside my right ear, and it was just like, "Yes, you can do this." And it was kinda like, "Get back to work, sister." You know what I mean? Like, "Put your head down, let's go." I didn't really choose that, like, I would never have said like, "Ooh, I wanna be an entrepreneur."
Yeah,
No, no, I felt like the choice of what I wanted to follow, which people say, "You're so courageous," and I say, "I'm I'm following my heart," which I know comes from the same
yeah,
sentiment, but I see them as like, I just am choosing to follow my heart, and I've got people and systems around me that support me in doing that.
yeah. Tell people. I grew up in church as well, and I remember reading the story about Jesus walking on the. These guys are fishermen. This is their job. This is
Mhm.
what they do, and they're just working. And this hippie comes on, as they say.
That's so funny you say hippie because I, in my reuniting with Jesus, call him J Love, and I think of him as like this hippie dude.
He comes and he says to them, he makes a statement, Dr. Sue, follow me and I'll make you fishers of men.
Mhm.
And I always hesitated at that, because what do they know? What does that mean? Fishers of men. They're
Mhm.
working, but their response was very something else. They ditched all their stuff. So they must have had that conversation going, we can't go lateral. We go, this is where we're stuck here. I'm going to take a chance and go out here. So that was fate that they left, quote unquote, their job to follow their assignment that they don't even know nothing about yet. It's just a
Nothing.
terminology.
And I think there's
Hallelujah.
another story where one of the followers is like, "Hey, dude," as in Jesus, J
Yeah.
Love, "can
Yep.
I like go home and tell my family?" And he's
Yep.
like, "Nope, let's go."
Yeah. Let's go. And so,
And
here we are. And I
I
believe,
didn't
as I
ask my
said,
family.
huh?
I didn't ask anyone for permission.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say, "Hey, mom, dad, what do you think about this?" In fact, some people thought I was cray cray.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then there's people who are, like, so proud of me, like, one of my mentors from residency, she was like, "Can I tell everybody? Because 'Cause you're, like, flying the nest," She's like, "I'm so proud of you." And I think some of my mentors, one in particular, I remember having a pivotal conversation with him. He was one of my biggest mentors in residency, and he said, "Sue, what do you wanna do?" He wanted me to become a radiologist like him. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Well, I wanna do this," and I was talking about, what I do in essence now and kind of embodying it all, integrative, holistic, and he said to me, "Sue, the future of medicine is not spirituality, it's technology." I was like, he's since passed now, and I'm wondering, like, maybe can
Both.
you just maybe see it now? Maybe? I don't know.
It's a combination of
He's an
both.
awesome man.
But Jesus said, that a prophet is not going to have any honor in his family, so it's okay. I don't want to worry about what my family is at all. I'm like, hey, I got your point of view. So here you are, and that whisper usually is, like I said, that external voice that says to you, no, get
Mm,
with it. And I think those external voices is that voice of that hippie, or if you want to say Jesus, God saying to you, no, this is where I want you to be because I have something for you to do. And this is the beginning of that walk, if you will. And I need you to do this. Get with it. And I think the shrinking mentality that we've had, because all of us are like that, and the uncertainty comes in. And then we have to learn obedience. The Bible tells us that Jesus Christ went away to learn obedience. And that's a powerful statement. And so he has to learn just like you and I, because you know how we are. What are we going to talk about? We want to know everything,
control.
but we have to learn obedience
Mhm.
as you're doing right now. We have to trust me. So
Yeah.
here you are, Doc, and you're Dr. Sue. You're filling out the data, the information necessary, and you began. Talk to us about those beginnings, because those beginnings are designed to make you and I test us to see if we really believe what we're talking about, if this is for true, if we're serious or not, because it's a wonderful journey. Talk to us about that time that you began to step out by faith and write and start, and what did it look like as you began to walk? by faith, if you will.
Well, I think the next pivotal moment was when that wonderful doctor who said, "Start my practice, start your
Yeah.
practice in my office,"
Yeah.
said to me when I was about 9 months pregnant with my first,
Hmm.
um, "The kids are too loud here. I started new therapy, the kids are too loud, so you get to find another space." I was like, "Okay." It was like, gotta pull pull your bootstrap like, I felt so vulnerable. I'm, like,
Yeah.
ripe with about to, like, produce a baby in this world. I'm feeling like mess. He's like, "Go find yourself another space," which actually, as always so, turns out to be a divine blessing because
Hmm.
I found 2 other graduates who were just starting a brand new fresh baking bank and what were they looking for, Ken? Patients to take care of.
Yep.
And so they're like, "Yeah, Dr. Sue, come work out of our office. We'll take care of your patients while you're gone." And, which in essence, one, I feel like I love it because like every test is kind of like, to me, a test is like, well, is this an obstacle? Is this an opportunity for something better? How is this flowing me to something else? Which the next one was, within a few years of being in that other office, again, they jacked up the rate. And I was like, this is criminal. Like, I
Yeah.
felt like this is
Yeah.
horrible. And so it forced me, as I'm forced, right? Like it's kind of like it was fire under me to be like, okay, I get to go find my own space, which is now like I just since retired from that space and now I'm all virtual, but it's literally less than a 3-minute commute from my home, which turned out to be such a godsend for raising kids because I could go home to breastfeed and then back to see the patients, right? So I feel like all those little tests really are just reroute you as long as, like, to me, it's all trust and flowing through it and seeing the opportunity within the obstacle, trusting that there is, like, a better outcome on the other side when even when they come in, like, fascinating packages, right?
I think it's synchronicity of faith, I call it.
Mhm,
When one walks by faith, there's a synchronicity to faith.
mhm,
And because situations will always arise. But when they come, most of us in the natural realm, we kind of look at it as a, like maybe a negative or whatever. But in the realm of the spirit, tribulation works patient. It's a different rule. In the
mhm,
realm of the spirit, the way by which things are operational, or the Bible puts it this way: show me your ways and not your acts. God's ways is through the difficult times. He
mhm.
creates, and when those states, those difficult time comes, it allows us to depend on him to synchronize our escape. And so we look at someone like Joseph, we look at David. David was told he was a king, and we keep reading, guy was in a cave hiding from another guy who was trying to kill him. Yeah, Joseph was said he's going to be a leader. His brother tossed him the betrayal. I mean, so God doesn't allows these things, these dark ways, if you will, the painful way, because he says all human go through this, but I'll be with
Mhm.
you. But this is his way of working things because it allows us to trust him and to see the synchronicity of faith. And so when we do that, it encourages us as well because we look back and go, wow, look at that. That was God, you know?
That was
And
totally God.
we learn how to rest in that synchronicity as you have plainly said and shown that God begins to do this. And the walk of faith, I try to explain to people, it's not as crazy as people make it sound sometimes. Sometimes it's just easy, allowing us the opportunity to recognize, make the switch, jump in, experience, give God the glory, and walk out of the other side and just have some fun. So it's a fun walk. So here you are, God is beginning to synchronize your life so that you can be home with the family and bring up and nurture the young seed, if you will, to
Mhm,
educate them as to the wisdom that you have gained because you're now going to pour all the stuff into them. As
mhm,
you're living that life, the mom side, and I tell people you still have to maintain you. How
mhm,
are you, Dr. Sue, doing? You have the
mm,
wife role, You have the mother role, but you still have to be Dr. Sue. You still have to love her. You still have to cherish her. How was that relationship while all this stuff? Then you have your job, how is she doing?
Well, I mean, I joke that I felt like an excellent parent to one child, good good parent to 2, and, a fair
Fair
parent
one.
to 3. I did a lot of self-development work before my first because I had multiple losses. I had 3 miscarriages before bringing her in, so I would say that really put, like, the pedal to the metal on my personal development. I had to find a way to rise above, like, I really thought I was gonna be a mom, like, maybe I'm not gonna be a mom in the way that I wanted to be a mom, like, it really felt so I really did a lot of that work, so I had tools.
Uh-huh.
Now whether I use the tools every day, that's a different story. So at the time, a lot of the tools were self-development, book reading, journaling was another big tool. Going into the bathroom was another tool.
Your secret place? Your hiding place?
You go talk to so many moms. The bathroom is sacred place. You go to like you gotta you gain you got like the flying and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go into the bathroom right now. And you shut the door and you're just like,
Stand
I'm
out?
gonna have a moment. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna have a moment to gather myself right now, or cry, or do whatever you need to do. So that was a major tool, the
Yeah, the bathroom.
bathroom. But and honestly, kind of, I mean, it is definitely a struggle. I loved like the little infant baby phase where
Uh-huh.
you have a lot more control, right? You
Yeah.
wrap them,
Uh-huh.
and then toddler was extremely difficult. I felt like I had little things flying all over the place, right? I was just like, everybody's crying at any one time. It's a very specific memory of like me just like going crazy, stuffing everybody where they needs to go to walk the oldest, and literally like pushing the 2 in the double stroller and the 5-year-old walking beside me and then waving to my neighbor like everything was great. Hi, good morning. Good morning. If you would have seen me inside, chaos. So I would say definitely struggling during that. I mean, now I think it's so much easier for me as a mom. I think when you talk to moms, it's interesting to hear like what their favorite stage is. I love this stage where they're really identifying who they are in adolescence and young adulthood. Like they're figuring out how they might give back to the world. They're trying to determine their stance on like what's right, what's wrong, quote unquote. I love that because you get to have so many cool conversations.
Yeah, it is the space by which you get a chance to exchange thoughts and really
Yeah.
get a chance to delve in because I'm a dad with 5 sons and I was a single
Mm,
dad. So it was interesting to watch them grow and now they're grown men all over the world and stuff like that and to have an opportunity to engage in the mind with true thought exchange is such an honor for me because I look at them as my teachers, and without them, I
yes.
don't know actually where I would be today without them. And so I honor them, and I'm so blessed to have them in my life. But here you are, as you're doing all of these wonderful things, good mother,
Modeling to the world, Ken,
your
modeling to the
percentage
world.
of good mother and bad mother, in one one package. So here you are, you're moving through, you're doing all of these things. You're in the midst of your assignment, you're a mom, you're a wife, and you're you. As you're all of these, and you are now bringing self to a place by which you are going to look back and assist those women that are younger, that are maybe in some difficulty that you have passed through, you've gained some insight. Talk to me about how did that synchronicity happen to bring you where you are today? As you said, you show up with love, and that's the space by which you, on the onset of the conversation, that's the space by which you move from, if you will, and now reach to people from that space of love. How did you get there? And then talk to me as to one of those encounters that you get a chance to.
Okay, I think I'll start with one of the encounters. So as you
Cheating.
said,
Good.
said our children can be our greatest teachers. And I
Yeah.
often say, you know, in some ways, they're God's hardest gift given to me, if that makes sense. Like, it's not easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. And in our house, I'll frame it as this, like, and it's actually a joke in our house now. Like, my greatest teacher is one of my children who's been particularly, we're kind of like the alpha females that go head to head. Like, when she was little, she thought she ran this house. And I'm like, excuse me, last I checked, I birthed you, sister. And I'm the alpha female of this house. So we had a lot of, challenging. One moment of that I can particularly remember is actually when she was still in grade school. I think she was in middle school. She was like in 6th grade. And I was just at that time in my spiritual development, I was aware of how she was activating me, but I could not yet control the fire. Like, and
Hmm.
so one time, Ken, I just hit her in the Achilles. Like, I knew how I could take her out, and I did. And, like, even to this day, I can feel, like, it's so painful. And then, like, she just, like, shimmered up the stairs to her room, and I felt like a piece of shit, like,
Yeah. Yep.
literally. And
Been there.
so my husband is like, "Wow, mother-daughter relationships are fascinating." He's just sitting at the dinner table like, "What just happened?" And then I went and, like, took a loop around the neighborhood, and I kinda thought I don't know, I knew it in that moment, but to me, that was a moment I was like, "Girl, you gotta up your game even more." Like, you cannot just take someone out in the Achilles heel. Like, that's not the way. That's not what love would do. I didn't say it in those words, but, like, that is not what love would do. So I practiced, because I had lots of opportunities, Ken,
Yeah. Yep. Parenthood will do that to you.
by that same sentient loving being. I had lots of opportunities. And so I literally felt like, a warrior who would she would take me down and I would like rise back up in love, and then, like rise back up, like just learn how to like rise without taking her down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does because that's how we learn.
That's how we learn.
Learn, and as we begin to become more proficient with our quiver, if you will, that we carry, all our
Hmm.
weapons, that as we become more proficient as a warrior, you learn how to use
Yeah.
that, how to recognize it from when it's coming, how to manage it before it gets to a place where you're exchanging language in, speaking in tongues, but, different kind, sailor, as they say. Because I've been there. I got a few triggers in myself with being a single dad, and traumatized the poor kids myself. And,
Yeah.
I've gone down on my knees, knelt down and faced them as young boys and asked for their
Hmm.
forgiveness
Yeah.
because I messed up. And I recognized that I messed up. I acted this way, and I would explain what I did and what, and so I would ask them, said, I do ask your forgiveness. And it humbled me and
Hmm.
caused me to learn to respond. I had a lesson that I remember God wanted me to learn: compassionate detachment,
Hmm.
where I had to be compassionate about certain things, but I have to be detached to allow myself the space by which I can respond. Because I
Hmm.
would come out, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I had to
Yeah.
learn that. That was a tough lesson when God he brought that phrase to me. I'm going to teach you compassionate attachment. I'm like, compassion. And I went on
Hmm.
this for about a year through my kids, and we'd bring it up and show me. And I had to learn about compassionate detachment. It's a powerful lesson. So here you are in this space now where you are able to respond correctly, and you're learning about you. You're a space now moving by love. Talk
Hmm.
to us as to, you have a mic, Doc. Let me ask you this question. You have a mic. The mic is connected to all 8 billion plus people on this planet. What would you say to us?
Prioritize love above all. If we just prioritize love, the rest seems to take care of itself.
They teach us to wait. I'm gonna
I
have them
got
cut that out too.
Maybe we should just all sit in that pause, Ken,
No, I
because
think it's
I
a
think it's
powerful.
really it's so simple and it sounds so like whatever, you know? But I'll tell you how this came into my own life in a very tangible way. One of my mentors and teachers is Tony Robbins, and I've learned a tremendous amount from that man. And one of the things that I've learned is the 6 human needs that we all share. And we share the need for certainty. That's a need to control that Ken saw come out of me very strongly before this. And I was like, Ken, dude, what are the questions? What topic are we talking about, dude? Like, let's go, right? I need some control. I need some certainty. I need some safety. Give it to me, right? But if we have too much certainty, we get bored. So we also need variety, right? We all have a need for significance to be seen and heard and recognized, right? And then we have this need for love and connection. Those are the 4 needs of what we call kind of the personality or the ego based needs. Then we have the spirit needs, which are growth. And the 6th need is the need for contribution or giving. So certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. And I was sitting at a seminar of Tony's, and he had us prioritize very honestly. If you had to rank orders, I would ask the listeners now, based on those descriptions, we all share these 6 human needs. Like, which of these 6 human needs do you think are your top 2? And so I had to be honest, like love and connection for sure. Absolutely. And then I was like, okay, if I'm going to be honest, like significance.
Yeah,
Why significant? And so the thing with these needs is like if you're driving to love and connect, which is going towards, but significance is like, how do I stand out? How do I be different? Right? So I would have this very push and pull. And that's where I realized like love above all, and the greatest way that one of the many ways that we can love is through giving, by growing. And the more we grow, the more we can give. So that's where I thought today's the day. Like, I need to prioritize love above everything else. And I need to move this need of significance down a notch.
yeah,
She gets to like
yeah.
go down a notch. Yeah. So that to me is why, like, love above all.
I love this conversation. I had so much fun, Dr. Sue.
Thank
I
you,
really
Ken.
did. And thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment. We're going to put all your links together and put everything so that they can have access to you. Guys need to get in touch with her because so much wisdom resides with her. And that wisdom will allow you to see who you are, which will allow you to obtain freedom. Freedom is the key. Freedom in recognizing you. Once you have done that, life becomes powerful. And I have a guide that knows the road, if you will. And we're going to make sure you get in touch with her. Doc, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Ken. What a joy. What a pleasure. What a blessing. Thank you, God.
Thank you. Thank you so.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.